Hi everybody, I'm Colossal. I've been playing Halo for over a decade, coached several competitive teams, and been a player for just as many. I was a champion in Halo 5, I'm consistently Onyx in Halo Infinite, and currently play for and coach a team on the HRL circuit. The goal of this lecture series is to familiarize people who may be new to the game, or who've been playing for a long time and can't seem to get ranked up, um, with some of the concepts known to the higher level players, but which aren't really addressed. Everybody just thinks you should know this stuff. Well, welcome to the Underplat 3 lecture. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go over some key concepts, explain why they're important, and talk to you about the stages and phases of the game uh, in order to get you to a level where you're playing the game consciously and on purpose, as opposed to sort of running around aimlessly trying to figure out what you're doing. Okay, and if you're under Platinum 3, I know you're doing that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be under Platinum 3, right? Okay. So, uh, first off, we're going to talk about the stages of the game. We have the opening stage, the middle game stage, and the end game stage. Most stages don't get to what we classify as the end game stage. We're going to define all this stuff really clearly so that you know where you are when you're playing. But the end game is sort of this stalematey sort of space where you and the enemy team are within like 1 or 2 points, and you're trying to figure out how to consolidate and get a W for your team. So most games you're going to either win pretty handily or lose pretty handily at your level. You're probably not going to get too far into end games, so we're not going to discuss them a whole lot. We are going to discuss them a little bit just in case you get into that scenario. But for the most part, you should be shutting them out, or they should be shutting you out. Just because any team that's sort of playing for advantages is going to win in your level, and in the higher levels for the most part, but a lot of that comes down to some other factors. So first, the opening phase of the game. Well, first let's talk about what objective-oriented play is. You guys might be going, well, I play objective, Colossal. I grab the flag, I hold the ball, I play objective for my team. And that's not really what we're talking about. What we're talking about is knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it, knowing where you're going, what your team's objective is at any given part of the game. It's not always just holding the objective or playing the objective. We're going to be playing 4 things on the map all the time, and we're going to try to get our team to play 4 things on the map all the time with us. That's really the goal, is to understand how to do that. So a couple of notes here on Streets. You see a bunch of callouts. Don't concern yourself too much with these callouts. Most of them are wrong. I'm going to circle things and say the actual names for them. The only reason that I've done this is because on this platform here, either I can have the weapons show up or I can have these callouts show up. And the weapons currently are wrong because they all just changed and it hasn't updated in the software yet. So I'd rather have you looking at a screen full of useless words than looking at a screen orienting you to the wrong locations of weapons, okay, and power-ups. So firstly, we're going to talk about what's called the opening stage of the game. And this stage of the game is where you've got some pretty defined principles, okay? And you've got some pretty defined phases. You have a push phase, you have a consolidation phase, and then you have a control phase, okay? But during this time, you're really going to be focusing on, and we're going to talk about what those phases do, okay? We're going to talk about that. Don't worry. I'm not just going to say it. But we're going to be talking about some principles that you should be following during these parts of the game. My headset is so crooked, and I'm not sure how to fix it. Huh. Let's see. Maybe it's down a little. Does that fix it? Not really. Okay. We're gonna leave it alone. We're not gonna worry about it. Okay. So what are we doing here? Principles for the opening. You should be working towards the center. Okay. You should be prioritizing power-ups and power weapons, or any advantage that you can get, which is going to be either tier 2 weapons, tier 3 weapons, power-ups, equipment Okay, all of these things are things that your team should be, and that you specifically should be orienting yourself towards in the opening of the game. The opening of the game is very fast. Okay, that's number 2. Very, very, very quick. If you're starting off the game and you're not looking at something where somebody could be, or shooting something, shooting your weapon, moving towards an equipment that helps you quickly get into play and shoot your weapon, you're probably doing it wrong, and your team's probably suffering for it. Okay, so we're going to break down every map that we look in, any series, lecture series that we do. We're going to break down our map into 3 lanes, and then 3 what we call perpendicular lanes. Okay, so these are our parallel lanes, and they're our main lanes where we start, and then these are our perpendicular lanes. Okay, and they're the lanes that might become new spawn or new attacks later on, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, initially we have what we call our side, we have what we call their side, and then we have the 50. And the 50 is really this whole section here, all of this here. And we do have a 50-yard line, which goes straight down. Whoop, I've lost everything. A 50-yard line which goes straight down the center like this. Okay? So initially, we're going to be fighting over control of the center. Now, what that doesn't mean is that we all want to run bottom middle. We do not want to do that. This is a very bad play. Okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not what fighting for the center means. This whole area is the center. Okay? And we want to be fighting for that whole area. Why? Because in each parts of this center, we have key things that we want to do. Okay? Whether we're playing for what's considered height advantage, or we're playing for equipment, or we're playing for spawns, or any given time when we say play for the center, what we mean is we want to move to positions that are going to stop our opponents from getting to the center. Okay, and this is one example of what might be an opening strategy for your team or your setup. Okay, there are lots of examples, and there's lots of depending on what your team prioritizes, there's lots of things that you can be focusing on getting initially. Okay, but for the most part, what we want to do is we want to get sort of centrally located, and we want to be playing towards the middle of the map. And I would say that maybe this line here for the center could actually exist somewhere like this. We're going to play up to the center, but not past it until we get what's called a pick, which means we've killed an enemy player, or we get some sort of a substantial advantage. Okay? So rather than break down what every individual player should be looking for off of this particular push, right? We're just going to outline these sort of key concepts. We're in the push phase of the opening. That's the first phase that you're going to get into, and it's the team where both, or the phase where both teams are sort of pushing for an advantage on the map. Everybody wants to get something good, some sort of goodies on the map. Or some sort of a positional advantage, okay? Positional advantages are typically defined by height advantage and central location, okay? A positional advantage is somewhere where you have an escape, your opponent doesn't, you're in the top part of the map. I know you guys don't know a lot about height advantage because you're in below Platinum 3, that's what this lecture series is, but for the most part, if you can get to a high point on the map like this B rails right here, that's a good way to get an advantage, which is why this guy's also up here in sort of top tram, because he's getting a height advantage down the center of the map. This guy's getting height advantage down the opponent's 50% of the map, right? Their side. We're red in this scenario, so we're going to say our side, their side, 50. Okay. All So how do we do this? How do we prioritize? What are we looking for, right? So we've sort of outlined a lot of this already. We're looking for equipment, tier 2 weapons, power-ups, tier 3 weapons, and height advantage or advantageous position. So tier 2 weapons are the weapons that you find on the sides of stuff, like, you know, the BR that may spawn on the rack, or the commando, which will spawn on the rack. Those types of things are called tier 2 weapons. A tier 3 weapon is going to spawn on, like the rockets used to spawn here, right? On an actual platform. It spawns every 2 minutes or so. Now some of them spawn every 2 minutes 30. It just depends on what map you're on. But these are the types of things that are considered tier 3 or power weapons. And then we're looking for power-ups, which would be considered like camo, the translocator, or overshield. And then we're also looking for things like equipment, so thruster, repulsor, stuff like that. Okay? So initially, your team is fighting for the biggest advantage on the map that they can get. And we're talking about a Slayer here because... Okay, so to be fair, we're gonna put everything in context of Slayer first, because every game is Slayer at its foundation, right? Every game is Slayer at its foundation. Now, not every game is heavily Slayer oriented. Some game types, like what's the new one that everybody hates? With Extraction. Some games like Extraction are more oriented with keeping people off of the extraction point. So you don't even really necessarily have to kill them. You know, when you're coming down to the end of it, you might just be playing really ratty and sort of moving them off or away from the extraction point, or playing for space, right? But if you die and your whole team dies and they don't die, they're going to win, right? 99% of the time they're going to win. So every game is Slayer at its core, and then we add nuances on top of it. So we're going to be talking Slayer initially, and getting into objective-oriented play that way. So initially, we're looking for some sort of an advantage on the map streets, and we're going to talk about how that functions. So initially, we had rockets here, and the meta was everybody's playing for rockets. Everybody's playing for rockets. Now we have a camo here, which means that we have 30 seconds to play for camo, which is a long time, because initially rockets would be picked up in the first 5-10 seconds of the game. Everybody's going to be playing something like what I'm putting out here, because we're all trying to orient ourselves in locations like this, which will give us an advantage on rockets. Like, say this guy died, right? So blue's going to get rockets here, most likely, right? This is what we're trying to do, is to consolidate for rockets. Now that rockets no longer spawns there, we have to rethink what our priorities are. What's going to help us get camo 30 seconds from now, or 20 seconds from now, right? However long it takes for us to get camo. I think it's 30 seconds. I'm not positive. Could be 20. But either way, when I show up in the game, I look at it, and it's there, and I know that I have game sense that tells me that I have a certain amount of time to get there, so I'm not like counting seconds down. So you know that. But typically speaking, right here, what we're trying to do is to get some sort of advantage that'll help us to get this camo later on. Okay, so what are the key factors to that? Well, we've said them already. So let's think about tier 2 weapons. Okay. Tier 2 weapon here is now the red gun, or the stalker. Okay, tier 2 weapon here now is the shotgun. Still, it remains. Okay. There's some equipment here, which you can also get for your team, which will be helpful. Okay, and there's some equipment here, I believe, which you can also get for your team, which will be helpful, and that's great. Those things are awesome things to push for, but they're sort of given, right? Red team gets this. Blue team gets this. So mostly what we're going to play here is going to be height advantage and your tier 2 weapons. Okay, so off of rip, red has in the push phase an opportunity to go here and to get, your balcony covered for top middle control. Blue team has an ability to go here and do the same, but most people like this push better. Most people aren't playing this at least in the tiers that I'm playing in, because it's hard to sort of a manufactured position. It's harder to keep than the top balcony position is. Okay, and you can play top balcony on this little ledge here and drop off and do whatever it is you need to do around your team. Okay. So we may send 2 guys from red to go and collect this shotgun. They may send 2 guys from blue to go and collect this shotgun. Okay. And if they do send 2 guys from blue to collect this shotgun, we have also grenades right here, which are spike grenades, which can end up here and here. So that if they do send 2 guys to collect this shotgun, they're getting hit with spike grenades, and then we have an advantage. Okay. So we have to be thinking about all of the little tiny advantages that we can get on the map. The grenades, the shotgun, the height advantage, all of that stuff. And we're playing for these things in the opening in order to get camo. That's really the only goal at this point, is to play for advantageous stuff so that we can slay out the enemy team, pick up the camo, and have an advantage on their next spawn. Okay? This is how we should think about the opening on every single map. We should be looking at what's available. We should be looking at what we're trying to pick up and what we're trying to get. Okay? And what we're trying to eventually get to. There's an AR that spawns here. That's something that's very advantageous for blue to pick up if they're trying to clear out streets and get this red gun control. Okay? The red gun is arguably a better tier 2 weapon to hold on this top rail position. The red gun. And the AR is arguably a better weapon to hold in these sort of close quarters tires positions like this. Okay, so depending on what type of player you are, you may be looking for a different type of advantage, but you're looking for an advantage. Now, after some things have happened, we've got the advantages that we're looking for. Like, we're red, so we're going to win in this scenario. You know, this guy has decided that he's going to go to B rail and die. There's still a guy tires here. We have red gun, right? This guy is going to fall out sort of and try to pick up this camo position. These 2 guys have secured the shotgun because of the spike grenades. And so now they're playing around camo. This last guy is going to run through middle and die because he's going for camo because it's now up, and we've got camo and shotgun and all the goodies. What do we do? Right? The push phase is over. We have pushed, we have won, we have gained camo, we have gained the power-ups and power weapons. If some of them got power-ups and power weapons, here's what we're doing. We're consolidating. This is the consolidation phase. We're picking up whatever our enemies dropped. We are covering spawns to make sure that we understand where they're going to spawn so that we are going to get an advantage on them. And then we're pushing to control their 50% of the map. After we've spawned them, we can push the 50-yard line. If we push the 50-yard line before we spawn them behind us. So we have to be aware of where we are in this position. Say the whole team pushed up, we're already past the 50-yard line, nobody's on respawn yet. These guys are all going to spawn back here. Oop, that's red guy. Whoops. We pushed in, slayed him out. You guys are all going to spawn back here. Now, if we're all pushing into their 50 and we all come into the back here and high five, we are at a disadvantage, right? I mean, we have all the goodies, we have all the stuff, but we're starting from where we started off initially. We have to go back to a push phase. Granted, it might be easier now to push because we have all the stuff, hopefully, because our consolidation phase went well. But during our consolidation phase, what we're really concerned with is taking stock of our position, which 50 we control, and maintaining that we got all of the power-ups and power weapons and all of that stuff that we need, okay? And if we do that, and we recognize that we still control this 50% of the map, it takes 8 seconds for a respawn. 8 seconds after the first guy dies, he comes back. then we can recognize that they're now spawning up at their initial, and we can start working for some sort of an advantage, right? This is the control phase. The control phase is where we're controlling their spawns. So we did the consolidation. We controlled their spawns. That's the control phase. And now we're in the middle game of the game, guys. We have passed the opening. We went around. We got the crap we needed. We put a lot of fire into the middle of the map while we were doing it to maintain that they didn't get the 50 for free. That's one thing I don't know that we went over. You've got to be firing down the center of the map during the opening phase. You've got to be firing down the middle so that they don't just take it for free. We're fighting for these things. We're not just running and picking them up. We're fighting for them. Okay, we did that. We got the goodies. We slayed them out. Now what? Consolidation. Where are we? Where are they likely to spawn? Do I have all my stuff that I need? And then control. I'm blocking spawns. We're making sure that they're not spawning up in the locations that they could hurt us in. You know, like spawning up red or something weird because we pushed all the way into PD. Right? And now they're spawning up behind our guys. Right? We're checking this stuff out. If we don't know the spawns, we're going into Forge. And we're looking at the spawns. Or we're going on to YouTube. And we're looking up spawns. Spawns is not the conversation of this video. It's outside of the scope because it gets complex. But for the most part, if you're not there, they're probably going to spawn there. And if your teammates are everywhere, they're going to spawn on top of them. They're going to spawn somewhere, and if you're blocking all the spawns, they're going to spawn on top of some of you guys and get you killed. If you're on the other side of the map from your team, they're probably going to spawn on you. So, during the control phase, we're blocking spawns. We're making them spawn where we want them to spawn. Okay? Now, we're in the middle game. We're in the pick phase. Okay? We have controlled their spawns. They're all spawning back at their base. And we're looking for a pick. Okay? We've moved up on the map, and we're looking to get a material advantage. What do we classify as an advantage? Well, there are resources that your team has. Your team has either more lives, which is the #1 advantage that you can get. Space, which is probably the #2 advantage that you can get. Power-ups and power weapons, which are the #3 and #4 advantage that you can get. And equipment, which is probably the #5 advantage that you can get. The reason that we put space above power-ups and power weapons is because if you have a lot of space on the map and your opponent has very little, even if they have a power-up like Overshield, right, it's going to be very difficult for them to use that because they've got to move out of their position, and they're probably going to attack up to 2 of you. And Overshield can get melted by 2 or 3 players very easily if he pushes into space that doesn't belong to him and doesn't have backup from his team, okay, or her team, whatever. And power weapons easily get shut down by the same thing, right? A rocket is very, very powerful, and a sniper is very, very powerful. But they can only kill the thing that's in front of them, one thing at a time. They can only kill the thing that's in front of them. They can't kill the stuff that's behind them, right, unless they turn around. So if they're moving into a space that doesn't belong to them, and they're getting attacked by multiple angles, they're going to die. So space is the #2 resource after your life. Okay? And the reason that it's #2 after your life is because if you're not alive, you can't do anything. You can't fight for space. So your life is #1, okay, for the most part. So we're now in what's called the pick phase, which means we're looking for a material advantage that we don't already have, which is going to be lives. Everybody's up. We're looking for lives. We assume everybody spawned at the same time to make this easy. If they didn't spawn at the same time, we're going to do the pick phase a little bit earlier, but we're not too worried about that. We may just get aggressive on spawns if there's only like 2 of them up, and slay out those 2 guys and have them spawn together behind us. But that's a little advanced. For the purposes of this, we're going to make it really, really simple because it's under Plat 3. At this point in the game, we're looking for a material advantage in the form of an opponent's life. So once this guy dies, we have a material advantage. and we can push the 50. And now we're looking at scenarios where your opponents are trying to figure out how to stop what's coming. But you can see that even though their shape is decent, and I say shape, I mean the shape that their teammates are making, right, is decent here. It's going to be very difficult for them to not get into a 3v2 battle here, or a 4v3 battle here. So once we've got that pick, we're really looking to jump in and own the space, get in hard, and get the trades that we're looking for. The 2-for-1s or the 3-for-2s, those types of things, right? We're not playing scared. We're not letting this guy spawn up back here and then push our guys from behind so that he can come over here and make it a 4v3 where we're trapped. Or a 4v4 where we're trapped, right? We're pushing our advantage, always pushing our advantage. We should be going hard at this point. Get these slays out fast. Get them dead before 8 seconds goes by, so that we don't have to worry about that respawner. Okay? And that's called the collapse phase. So after the pick phase where we get one guy, we're going to collapse on them. That's collapse phase. And then we're looking again for another control phase, right? Where are they going to spawn? What do we need to block? Where do we need to push? Right? And this is how the middle game goes. You're going to slay them out here. We'll say we lose one. Slay them out. Right? We had a really good collapse phase. We only lost one guy. And now we're looking to control again. We're looking to control again and get our guy up. So these guys are strong over here, right? We don't want them spawning close. We want them spawning further away. So this guy here may grenade red room. May throw a grenade there. Keep them out of that spawn. And this guy over here may go ahead and grenade purple. Keep them out of that spawn. And this guy here may sit here. Because the goal is to spawn our guy up in PD. Right? Get the guy spawning on our side of the map. We're trying to get them all to spawn here. Like this. For the most part. Right? And then we're going to do it over again. We're going to do it over again until the new camo comes up on this map. And every so often, we're going to check for new weapons that come up every couple of minutes. We're going to go check for the new weapons that have come up, right? The new shotgun, the new red gun, these types of things. We're not neglecting those. We're always looking to get those. And this is the basic idea. The basic idea is that we want to be covering our lanes, and we want to be playing these positions. Right? We want to be playing for something throughout the game. We don't know what phase we're in. We don't know what we're doing. And we're just running around the map looking for kills. We're not running around the map looking for kills. We're looking to play with our team towards a goal. Right? First goal, push. Get the center. Get central control. Get control of the power-ups and power weapons and all that good stuff. Next goal, figure out where you are. Pick up all the stuff you didn't get. Figure out where they're gonna spawn up. Control their spawns. Right? Make sure they don't spawn behind you. And then we're looking for a pick. We're getting an advantage. And then we're collapsing. And then we're looking to control again. Get our guys up that weren't up before. Make sure that they don't get the middle of the map for free again. Right? And we're going to rinse and repeat this over and over and over again. And if your team's not focused on this stuff and doing this stuff together and thinking about the map in these sort of sections, and what you're going to end up with is gameplay that looks very, very silly. You're going to end up with positions that are where they're spawning everywhere. You never know where they're coming from. Nobody ever knows what's happening, right? You're going to end up with this guy running off in this direction while his whole team sits back here because they're not fighting for the center. And he's like, I was fighting for the center, but he wasn't fighting for the center. He was just pushing them. And they're going to pull out here, and these two guys are going to collapse on him and kill him, right? And then they're going to run up the side here. And these guys are pushing out to work towards the center. and you're like, and they're taking what's called adjacent lanes, which we haven't talked about, but we're going to talk about now. Okay. And your teammates are now in a 3v4 scenario where, it just ends up bad, just ends up very badly for them. And you're like, you were this guy, and you were like, come on, guys, what are we doing? We're sitting in the back of the base. And your whole team's like, you got to play careful, man. Play for your life. And you're both wrong, right? Because you're right because they should push up, and they're right because you should play your life because it's your most valuable resource. But none of you did it effectively. And then this guy's going to die, and this guy's going to spawn up over here because this guy spawned up over here. And then this guy's going to keep running out. This guy's you. He's going to keep running out into the middle because that's what he thinks he should do. And this guy's running over here, but he doesn't know that he's running into 2, right? And this is where everything gets so hectic that nobody knows where anybody's spawning. Now you've got guys spawning over here. You've got, your guy that died over here spawning over here. And what's happening? What's happening? Nobody knows anymore. You're leaving lanes open. They're running down the middle of the map. Nobody's fighting for the 50. Everybody's spawning all over the place. Nobody knows when camo's up anymore. Does this sound familiar? Sound like the games that you're playing right now in platinum lobbies? Right? Or below in gold? Okay. So really, all we're doing, guys, all we're doing is just thinking about the topography of the map. Where are my goodies? Play towards the middle with your team. Go get the goodies. Then, make sure you have something locked down. On this map, we're going to get a little more complicated. There's something called perpendicular spawns which happens. And what perpendicular spawns are is when people spawn up like this. And now, instead of looking down the map this way, and this being your 50 zone, instead of doing that, we're looking down the map this way. And this is the 50 zone. Okay. We're going to play it the same, except we're going to decide what we want. We want to flip spawns, especially if we're spawning on purple side, and they're spawning on B side in PD. We want to take a base. We want to flip these spawns back to normal. Why? Because they have all the height advantage. And they have easier access to a base. That's not good for us. Okay? If we're blue in this scenario, we probably want to take blue base. We want to take A, this side of the map, because we have easy access to it. We can go through back A, and the enemy can't do that. If we have red on this position, we don't have much of a good option. It's going to depend, right? Like if these guys are here, we have C, so we can do that. That's fine. We just go here, and we flipped it back, and no problem. But if these guys are here, ouch. We don't have a good option anymore because we can't do this. Right? We have these guys attacking us from top rails. We can't just run into C. This is hard. So what do? Well, we go, well, crap, there's guys on rails, so we can't challenge that for sure. We're going to have to flood the main base. We're going to have to flood A here. We're going to have to fight for A. So 9 times out of 10, if you find yourself in perpendicular spawns, you're in an A battle, fighting over A. 9 times out of 10. This stuff's going to happen. So we don't want that position from red. We don't want to spawn purple all over the place in a Slayer battle and have to fight from a disadvantage. So cover B. So before you get into this problem, right, give yourself the advantage by creating the perpendicular spawns if you want, but cover B. If you want to create perpendicular spawns to create a problem, then do something like this. Where all of a sudden, you've got a couple guys down, you know you've got guys covering your PD, you've got your teammates on top A, you were a B guy, right? And you go, I'm going to move into red, and I'm going to throw grenades here. I'm going to force these guys to spawn up here and put them at a disadvantage so that when I roll through here, we've got really, really strong positions against these guys, which they can't easily overcome. This is when we start thinking about the game in a higher level way, right? But what did we do? All we did, I mean, this is like a for instance. This is a what if. This is almost a slippery slope scenario. I get it. Like, this stuff's not going to happen every game. But you can think about it like this. You can think about it like, we just got 2 dead. We just killed 2 enemies. My teammates are slaying these other guys out. I'm not doing anything. How can I set my team up for success? And you can start controlling spawns, and you can start using the time in between lives to do things like this to help your team get an advantage. It's only 8 seconds between spawns, guys. 8 seconds. Like, that's not much time at all. Like, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're respawned. In that time, right now, what you're doing is you'll get a kill or do whatever, and you'll be looking around, trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out. What do I do next? Where do I go? Ah! Stop. Slow down. Chill. You've got 8 seconds. All that time, you just spent 3 out of that 8 seconds freaking out. Count the numbers. What did your teammates call out? Where are they dead? Where are you guys strong? Take stock. Cover a spawn. Get ready for the next push. Call out where they're coming from. You'll know where they're coming from because you know where your teammates are. They died. Enemies died. You're covering a spawn because you looked back and saw where your teammates were, and you said, I'd like for them to spawn on purple because that'll be good for us. That'll be an advantageous position for us. So I came here to red, and I threw a grenade into white. And my guy up here on top hut, I'm like, shoot into white, and he shoots into back white, right? And now they won't spawn here, really. They might spawn up here. Like, one guy might spawn up here. But mostly they'll be spawning over here. And you go, I'm spawning them purple. Ooh. That's a cool thing to be able to scream down the mic. Not they're spawning up purple. Not watch your purple. Not they're coming from purple. I'm spawning them purple. I have control over the situation. I did something. Go get them. I'm spawning them purple. I have shots down their spawns. Nade their spawns. Now your teammate. I'm nading their spawns. Now your other teammate. I see cafe. Now your other teammate. I'm pushing your elbow. Shots down in cafe. Too weak. These are the types of things your teammates should be calling out. Right? This is the type of stuff that makes you feel strong on a map. You did something. You didn't just appear somewhere randomly. You created it. You did it. And your team is ready for it now. How cool is that? So all of this stuff is going to be continuously happening through the phases that we talked about. This is the middle game phase. This is what the middle game phase looks like. Right? It's complicated. You have to be aware of where your teammates are. You have to be aware of the callouts and where the enemies are. How many are dead? And you're going to start controlling things. The more aware you become, the more you start controlling things. And so this is with the point we want to get to, right, where we're doing this. And all it is, once again, be aware of numbers, play towards the middle of the map with your team. They get slayed out. Remember what phase you're in. Play the phase, right? This is your control phase. You already did the other phases. They're dead. Do something with your life while they're dead, other than just sit back like this. This is what you guys are doing right now. And wait. This is why you get screamed at. They're all on spawn, and you guys are like, let me wait. They'll come up eventually, and then they're going to come in front of me, and I'm going to shoot them. It's like, yeah, but they're going to be 4 strong again. And now you're just back to the opening push phase. You don't even have the center of the map control here. Like, worse, even worse if you're here. You're just waiting for them to show up at the same 50 as you are. And do this thing all over again. This looks exactly like the opening. Why are we doing that? We're giving it up. We just fought for an advantage and then given it up completely. We want to create the most uncomfortable positions for our team, for our enemy team, and the most comfortable positions for our team during the control phase. Okay? Okay. Whew. All right, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of stuff. Okay, you might have to watch the video a couple of times. It's okay. It's okay, guys. I've watched videos 1,000 times. I've had to go back and watch some videos 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times just to get it. And people aren't explaining it. I just go back and figure it out, right? At least we're explaining it. Right? And we're not in a complicated game where you're watching the map and we've got these scenarios and all these crazy scenarios. Like, no, it's simple scenarios. Everybody's fighting for the center. Somebody gets an advantage. We're doing the thing we're supposed to do, and we're resetting. Right? We're creating plausible scenarios for your team. Okay? Easy. No, it doesn't seem easy, but it will be. If you do the principles and if you use the phases inside of your stages correctly. Remember, the stages are the opening, the middle, and the end game stages. The phases inside of the opening and the middle game are your push phase, your consolidation phase, your control phase, and then your middle game, your pick phase, your collapse phase, and your control phase. Okay? These are your phases for Slayer. We're going to modify them for other games. But right now, these are your phases for Slayer. Talk about the end game a little bit. Okay? You guys are 2 points. Within 2 points. It's like 48 to 47. You're losing. Maybe 48 to 46. You're losing. They need 2 kills. You need 4. Number one thing. Get to your team. Don't take a 1v1. Don't take a 1v2. Get to your team. Okay? Get to a base. Get to something defensible. And set up. This is arguably fine. It's fine. This is better. This is good. This is arguably bad. This is probably better. This guy's really weak here. So this guy needs to be ready to do something like this or something like this. Something happens. Okay, and this guy needs to be ready to do something like this. Okay. But we're not letting them collapse on us, guys. We're not giving up the center. We need to know where they're coming from. We need to know where they're strong and where they're weak. What type of pushes they're making. If they're making pushes down middle. Making pushes atop B streets. If they're coming from purple. Okay. We're blue in this scenario. They have an advantage. They're going to push. They need 2 kills. 2 trades will get them those kills. Can't let them have it. We're watching our lanes. Lanes 1, 2, and 3. Top lane, middle lane, bottom lane. B lane, middle lane, purple lane. However you want to categorize it. We need to know where they're coming from, and we need to be near each other so we can help. And then once we get that first pick, boom, back to collapse phase. Back to collapse. We have an advantage. We got a pick, right? They're weak over here. Let's go get them. And you're thinking, but wait, we're still down a point. Yeah, but you have an advantage. And if you wait, you won't anymore. They just get them right back up. And now they know what you're doing. They know what your game plan is. Now they can adjust. They can do something different. They can come in for a trade more easily. In 8 seconds, you no longer have an advantage. It takes 4 seconds to get your shields back, 8 seconds to respawn. If you're absolute, get your shields back. And then play with your team towards the advantage. If you guys lose 1, and they lose 3, you're even now. And you have space advantage. And you collapse on the 4th guy. Now you're within 1 point. Or you win. I think you win. What did I say? 47 to 48. You guys lost 1. Yeah, you win. They lost 3. So there are times to sort of turtle and play slow, figure it out. And then there are times to push the envelope. I just want to continue by saying, if you're the players that are weak on the map and you're getting destroyed during the middle phase and they're getting the collapses and all of these things, get your teammates up. Get your teammates up and work with your teammates to go and create a new advantage. Work with your teammates to go and take the 50 position back. If they own the 50, you can't push it. You got to get a pick. You're in a pick phase now. First stage of the middle game, right? They own the 50. You need a pick so that you can get the 50 control. So this stuff really is as easy as that. Working with your team to find an advantage and get to an advantageous place on the map. Play for something. Play towards something. If you want B control, play towards that. If you want purple control, fine. It's not an end goal. B is sort of like an end goal, right? Because it's gonna help you to do a ton of other stuff on the map. Purple is sort of like a way to get to A or a way to get to C. But B is its own sort of power position lane. You know, so send more guys B than you send purple, I guess. Unless you're picking up shotgun, in which case send 2 guys purple. But this is really, really simplified stuff. But if you start to orient your mind to play this way and to make the types of callouts we talked about earlier, I'm doing this, we're doing that. They're weak because of it. You know what I mean? Like putting shots down this lane, letting your teammate know what's going on with you and what you're trying to accomplish. All of a sudden, we're working towards a goal. And you're going to win so many games doing that, that unless there's just something fundamentally wrong with the way that you shoot, you're going to be in diamond. Or at least above plat 3. Very, very quickly, right? Because plat players don't play like this. And to be fair, most diamond players don't play like this. But once you get into the higher levels, diamond, onyx, this type of stuff, it's less cut and dry. What phase you're in all the time. You have to make decisions sort of during phases that you wouldn't initially think that you were making a decision for, or during, like, you know, you might be in, your team might be in a collapse phase, but you spawned off and now you have to figure out where they're spawning and like try to block the new spawns that are coming in. So like they're still in a collapse phase and you're in a control phase now. Right? We'll give an example. No, we won't, because that's beyond the scope of this lecture. Just recognize what phase you're in at any given time and try to do the stuff that goes with that phase. Okay? If you guys will focus on that and get a couple of people together, even just one teammate that you'll run with on a consistent basis, and you guys just focus on this. Stages and phases of the game, what's my job? What's my job? If you guys can figure that out, what am I playing for? Not what's my job. What am I playing for? What's my team playing for? What are we playing for? If you guys can figure that out and you can do that, you're going to get to above Platinum 3 in no time. Okay? Later on, we're going to have our below Diamond 4 lectures, and we're going to talk about what's my job, because that means something different. I shouldn't have said that. So maybe we'll cut that part out. But we're going to have that conversation later on. But right now, this is what I want you guys focusing on. This is what's going to get you guys to the next level, and this is what's going to solidify the type of thought that's going to bring you into the upper levels and make you start playing like competitive players instead of like people who are running around the map, not playing for anything, not knowing what's going on. Okay? Awesome. Well, one more thing on the concept. No, we're going to do that in a different video. In a different video, we'll go over things like we'll like height advantage, what areas on the map are considered power areas, stuff like that on different maps. But if you take this sort of thought process that we've put here and put it on any map in Halo, you're going to get a good response from your games on average. Much better response than you've got before. Okay. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for sticking it out, and please like and subscribe, leave comments down below so that I can respond to those. I'm going to do my best to respond to all of them and try to help you guys understand anything that was unclear. Once again, this is not a comprehensive guide in this one video on how to play Halo. This is just discussing basic concepts about stages and phases of the game and basic principles for the opening, middle, and end game. Okay? You'll deviate from these throughout your Halo career, and that's okay. But these are strong fundamentals, and if you can really get these down, you're going to have a lot better time on the ladders. So hope to see you guys on the ladders, and thanks so much. Bye.